Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
We got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And we got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
It's wacky, it's not good, it's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Ulix 2, I think, complements, and this is what when they talked about titles, this is how I envisioned it working. I think Ulix 2 complements Ulix 1 very well. I think Ulix 2 does something unique. I think he focuses more on the damage aspect of things, and it gives a disgusting ranged attack that the keyword really doesn't have. And to me, that's a big deal because now your opponent can't just sit back and just wait for the pigs to come to them and, maybe pick them off as they come in. Because Ulix is kind of up there getting his pigs where they need to be, but he's also throwing these bolts of fire downrange, causing chaos. And he does he ignore, I don't know, does he ignore he does ignor friendly fire. So that's the thing you were complaining about, Maeve. Is that the thing you liked the most when you saw it?
I beta tested him, so I made sure that was a thing that happened.
you had weird theory. You're like, if you're going to give him a sweet ass bow, because I'm sure you voiced that the pigs are going to be engaging stuff.
Yeah,
that would make the bow useless.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be, and he does so much. So Ulix 2 changes. It very much changes how the keyword plays, in that they're less like a lot of times, like you'll see Ulix and he's kind of Ulix 1 and he's kind of like this sort of like bubble crew of like make a pig and throw it out, make a pig and throw it out.
Yeah.
Ulix 1 is more Ulix 2 I feel like they play a lot more like Nephilim, in that they're like fast skirmisher, get in and just cause absolute mayhem. Yep. He's so tanky, 14 wounds, hard to wound. Like, he's only defense 4, which really sucks, but like potential to have shielded, it doesn't happen often enough that I'm happy about that. But like with all that healing, 14 wounds and hard to wound, like you have to put work into killing Ulix 2.
Yeah, I think the thing that surprised me about Ulix 2 is I think you can get sucked into looking at his attack actions because they're both really good. I'm actually a big fan of using the bow, but once you get in there, I love his melee attack. It is pretty close to a Nekima like type attack. It's gonna wreck some stuff. But I think as a crew overall, the power here is actually for the unresisted damage. There's a ton
100%.
There's a ton of stuff where you're putting out burning, so people are taking burning damage. You're doing stampede, so stuff's taking, point of damage there. Bacon Beeline just does 2 damage if you go through stuff. Bo Peep, if you do her ability and you take the crow that's already built in, you do, I think, 1 or 2 points of damage. So there's just a ton of like, oh, that model only has 2 hit points left. Let me just kill it real quick.
Yep.
Right.
And I'm going to go ahead and probably irritate anyone who's listening and loves Ulix 2 and say, let's just go ahead and start this for our conversation. Bacon Beeline is so good. And the trigger doesn't even really matter.
It does.
When it does, it's good. When you get it off, it's fantastic. But flinging piglets 8 inches up the board, smashing everything they go through for 2 unresistible damage and burning is worth it in no matter what. Like taking a swine curse that's fully loaded up with glowy that is not going to die, and throwing it as far up the board as you can throw it through enemy models into the group that it wants to be in the first place. That's so amazing.
I do like that bacon Beeline. I do like that you can just switch a swine curse and a war pig out because they're the same size, so it doesn't matter if there's burning. So
Yep.
you can just be like, cool, I want a war pig in this situation, or oh, cool, let me get a swine curse. And low key, I mean, I know we've been talking about swine curse because they're super freaking good, but there was a matchup, I think it was Nick was playing Misaki with all that extended reach. And I was like, cool, let me just switch this into a swine curse. Let me do heroic intervention, get wrecked.
Yes.
Yeah, that heroic intervention comes in and just ruins people's day.
It's one of the best things about their card, as far as I'm concerned, because that solves that engagement problem.
It does.
And the passive healing you're getting with Bo Peep on top of Glowy, it's like Swine Curse can have like 12 effective wounds. They get more wounds than a master when you get down to how much time it takes to chew through them.
Yeah, Jim, do you have, going back to Bacon Beeline, do you have a lot of games with Ulix 2, or are you doing a lot of theory crafting right now?
Mostly theory crafting, because I haven't gotten my hands on the model yet.
Sure.
I've played a couple games on Vassal, and those are on my channel. A quick plug to my YouTube channel. But
he and I have played each other a lot of times where he's played against my Ulix.
So when you do Bacon Beeline, Jim, are you trying to get the trigger to grow up stuff that's, going through fire, or are you just more using it for movement and to just unrelented damage? Or unresisted, I should say.
I'm in the camp where I do it for the movement. I've tried to force it to happen turn one, to do the turn a piglet into a war pig or whatever, and it felt way too dirtily.
I was going to say, I think I was talking with Maeve about this on Discord at one point. Just like I think Ulix 1 kind of can throw into a grow trap, I think if you start bringing too much tech to put fire out so then you can grow stuff up with Bacon Beeline, I think that's kind of a trap, because then you're getting out of what your keyword wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you can bring Maris, and I'm not saying don't bring Maris.
She's okay, I tried it once.
But you then have to hope that your models fail, or you're spending cards that you probably don't want to spend to make sure that they fail, and then you have less cards in your hand, which becomes really, really frustrating, especially because, like, low masks are very, very, very important with Ulix 2, especially in the list I build, because you're so dependent on Hog Whispers to get that extra AP out. You want that Sikkim. So if you don't have those masks, those early masks, then you're sort of losing out.
Yeah, you almost got to wait for your tools for the job for a mask to get flipped, and then you're not controlling kind of the activations at that point.
So yeah, Bacon Beeline is definitely one of those, like, I've had to do like up to 8 damage, right? Like a piglet being shoved 6 to 7 inches up the board because it's a 30mm model can clip.
And they get put on fire, so that's another 1 damage.
And that's what happened in that game that Jim and I were playing. Ulix on his turn did a Bacon Beeline on a Swine Cursed, sent it through 3 or 4 models, Jim?
Pretty much my entire bubble.
Yeah, and then turned it into a war pig, and like,
oh dear,
turned around and murdered everything. And it was like, it happened because that extra 2 unresistible damage just pinging through things. Like,
and to your point, Pete, it's the armor, incorporeal stuff like that. Ulix has so many ways around that.
Yeah.
And then you add in that it just has triggers to deal with. You have triggers to deal with things that your abilities don't deal with. And Bacon Beeline is good because it does that raw damage, that raw reposition.
Yep.
The grow is nice, but yeah, it's absolutely not something that you need to twist your hand around to make it happen.
Yeah. Now, it does get it is kind of interesting because it's almost the opposite of Ulix 1, in that it does tend to get easier to do in the late middle to late game. Because you're able to grow, you've got more models with burning on them.
Yes.
And it is very possible to send a piglet that was summoned last turn into a couple models and turn it into a war pig, and then suddenly you've got a 5 health war pig at the end of the turn hanging out in your enemy's, grouped up inside your enemy's stuff, and things are going to get real bad for your opponent real quick after that happens.
Yeah, and we've been loosely referencing it, but the thing that's putting all the burning out is the Pigs of Fire. I'm sure that's a little nod to Chariots of Fire, but basically anytime a pig either goes into base with something or moves through something, it gains burning 1. So it's pretty gross.
It's so good, especially when you consider that's where Bo Peep gets really good, and that's where Ulix gets really good, because they both have Stampede.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
It's not really exciting.
You got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And you got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Why is wacky? Why is that good? It's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.